Let's move on to the sector beta tutorial. So, let's begin. Sector beta is a very cool track. As you can see in the map of it already, there's a lot going on. Upside down sections, loopings, some very interesting corners that allow for a lot of airtime, a lot of different dives. So this is a track that can get extremely complex. You can do a lot of stuff with it, with different diving mechanics and so on. So there will be 4 different strategies for this track that I will show. I will start off simple with a grip-based driving style without doing any crazy dives or whatever. Steph Coast gets a very slow time, 1:31. I think everybody can beat that, especially after watching this tutorial, of course. The first strategy, my goal is already faster than the Steph Coast, 1:26.
2, 1, go! Power!
And there we go, Sector Beta, the first strategy. 2.5 out of 10 difficulty. Again, the easiest strategy in the game, in my opinion, is Silence 1 with a grip-based driving style. This is 1 out of 10. This has some dives, this has some more tricky corners, so 2.5 out of 10. Just a bit more difficult. Still pretty easy, I would think. So let's analyze it. So I'm picking the Trinorita with settings about +5 or so. The first corner is pretty self-explanatory, just take it sharp on the inside. Keep your grip. Go along these dash plates. Now, efficient driving also really applies on tracks like this. That means keep your steering to an absolute minimum. Catch the dash plates. Try to keep a straight line. Move the nose to ship down just a little bit for the dive to catch some speed. Now on the looping there's not much you can do except know that it's curving to the left, so if you do nothing you will leave the looping on the left side. So I move to the right a little bit so I can leave the control stick in a neutral position so I don't have to steer, and really keep that to a minimum. Yeah, so just minimize your steering, take the dash plate, cut across this dirt patch here with the boost. Now there's an interesting point going up. If you do nothing, you will leave the track here. You'll get airtime and it's quite tricky to land back on. So what I do is I tap the accelerator just to slow down a little bit and stay on the track here. Because we're upside down at that point, and yeah, you need to have some skills to land back there. So to keep it simple, we really don't need to do that to beat the step coast. You can also air brake just briefly for a split second. Air brake works pretty effective, so you lose speed quickly. On this part, I just drive off the track on the left side. That's all there's to it. Point the nose of the ship down just a little bit for a good diving angle and land in the left refiller. Now this dive is critical for winning a lot of time on this step coast. On this corner, side attack first and then steer into it. Side attack first being key here to keep your grip and keep your speed. Keep on boosting all the way in this section. I have no idea what that was. Yeah, just keep on going here, keep on boosting. I stop boosting here, catch this dash plate. Now it doesn't make any sense to boost on this part either, because we don't want to lift off the track. And we're already going way over the limit for lifting off. So I'm actually again letting go of the accelerator for quite a bit here, just to decelerate enough to stay on the track. Actually, you see me doing a little hop there. Though I do get some airtime, but I hold up on the control stick to prevent really lifting off. That's very dangerous, so you can also just release the gas earlier or use the air brake. Again, drive off the left side and just dive down into the refiller. You can sort of pull up on the ship right before landing to reduce the landing impact. Yeah, just pull up right before landing. Go through the full refill strip, then I'd start boosting immediately. If you side attack rapidly, you can take that corner quite easily and stay on the inside. Keep on boosting along this part. Yeah, so this is pretty much the same as the second lap. You want to stop boosting on this part because we don't want to go too fast in that high watt section anyway, because you would lift off the track. Again, just try to keep straight lines. And well, let go of the accelerator here or air brake. I'm pushing into the absolute limit here because this is a tool assisted run, so this is about how far you can possibly push it without actually lifting off the track there. So I used up all my energy here, and then again just finish the race by driving off the left side, point the nose to shift down and land right before the refiller, boost and finish the race. So that's more than 8 seconds faster than the Staff Ghost without doing anything crazy. The Staff Ghost also uses that last dive by driving off the track. The question is, am I playing with an original N64 controller? So when these runs are all pre-recorded, so when I made them, yes, I did use an original N64 controller. I connected via a USB adapter to the PC, and that's how I played in the emulator to do these runs. If I play normally on the N64 console, I also, of course, use a real N64 controller. So I think that strategy is very self-explanatory, and so we shall move on to the next one, strategy 2. Let's watch it first and then analyze.
Three, two, one, go! You got both powers! Yeah! 4.0 blast! Yeah! First place! Way to go! It's a new record!
So yeah, there we go, strategy 2. Strategy 2 is way more difficult than strategy 1, of course. It's in a completely different league. But you have to realize that I'm doing a lot of double tap dives in this second strategy, but they're all optional. You don't have to do any of them. So of course start out with the simple ones first, so the difference between strategy 1 and 2 is not nearly as big as this video makes it out to be. And then just keep adding them as long as you get comfortable with doing these dives. So the question is Octoman. So yeah, I'm using the Deep Claw. That's a conscious choice. Technically speaking, the Twin Narita would just be a hair faster here, but the Deep Claw is a very good ship as well. So let's start the video, analyze it. The Deep Claw is a very light ship. It has a B class boost, it has a very good boost, therefore it's just about as good as the Twin Narita, except it has a B body. So it is really much more, much stronger from hitting the walls from any of these dives. And many of these dives are very tricky, especially the last one in the lab, where you can hit the walls quite severely and lose a lot of energy with the Twin Narita. So let's pause it here. So because the Deep Claw is just about as good as the Twin Narita, but it can withstand damage way better, it's a very good choice for this strategy to learn how to play well. Again, it's a grip-based driving strategy as well, but with a lot of air dives. So the first one is coming up now. So you want to do some air control first to move the ship in the ideal position for a double tap dive. I keep it pretty simple here. So I'm just driving straight line, nothing special. At this point I start holding down left on the control stick, and when I leave the track I gradually move that to down. To go up, get some air. And at this point I start doing a right side attack and move the control stick via the down right position to the up right position. To move the nose of the ship down right clearly. Now I move the control stick straight up and mash the Z button to the left side attacks. With the control stick up and or very slightly up left to land back on the track here at 2400 kilometers per hour or so. And you will very quickly pass that step coast and leave it in the dust. So yeah, you go way faster than strategy 1 on this part already, and you start to gain some serious distance on the staff coast already. This part is the same, just catch your dash blade, go over the dirt zone. But now, in this high walled section, you can leave the track. Again, this is optional, so just do strategy 1 if you don't master this yet. But what you can do is just drive full speed ahead and you will start to leave the track. How do you land back on the control stick? I moved the control stick partially up right and then up. Then at this point, so let's pause it here. This is a very complicated move. The best trick for gaining a lot of speed from this dive, some people call this the blind double tap dive because you really don't see where you're going, is to dive really down. You don't want to go up way high, super high in the air, dive down, because your landing impact will be huge. The track that you're landing onto is sloping up a lot, so if you crash with the nose to ship straight into the track, your landing impact is so big that you lose a lot of speed from the dive. How do you prevent that? Yeah, I'm basically holding upright from the get-go, from when I start to leave the track, immediately, to prevent myself from going up too much. I turn right, so you can clearly see the nose ship turning right. Then at this point, I'm turned right enough. I release the gas on purpose. If you release the gas, the ship will keep flying in a straight line ahead. I will not turn right or anything in the air. I'll just keep flying in a straight line. And additionally, I can really point the nose of the ship even way more down. And this is a very cool trick to keep way more speed from this double tap dive when you land. So I start to release the gas here, point the nose of the ship way down, and at this point, at this crazy angle, I start mashing the right side attack button. I press the gas again, and you can see I land really far down here at 3000 kilometers per hour, and I keep a lot of speed. Now the next dive. So what I see most people do is they just sort of drift in the air and then dive, and then they keep not much speed at all really from the dive. You will already win a lot of time if you do the dive at all, but you can keep so much more speed from it, and that's what I do here. So keep left side attacking to keep your grip around the corner, and immediately the next dive follows the final dive of the lap. I do it pretty simple. I just do a left side attack and move left from the track, just like strategy 1, except I'm going at 1500 on the takeoff already. You have to be careful here to not go instantly when the reel ends on this point, because if you go at this point you'll probably crash. And don't go down too much here either, because the game will make you crash. So I just basically move the nose of the ship down left immediately by leaving the track, holding left and then holding up. Now the ship is already in a very good position for a double tap dive right. So I start mashing the right side attack button, move the control stick up, and then just partially upright, slightly upright along the way to steer the ship to the good landing position in front of the refiller. So pretty simple, hold up, mash the R button, you dive back down to the track. I hold up all the way, by the way, so I'm landing as early as possible. And yeah, into the refiller, do a left side attack here. Now this corner is very tricky. If you time these side attacks well, you can make it through keeping over 1700 kilometers per hour, but it's very, very tough. Welcome DSGA to the chat. We're halfway through the sector beta tutorials. So keep on boosting all the way in this, when you enter the second lap, because of course we want to keep that speed from a double tap dive for as long as possible. Keep on boosting here as well, all the way up to the dash blade. You can just cut across the dirt zone when you boost, that doesn't matter. Now after this dash blade I don't boost anymore. Going really fast here. so we'll definitely leave the track early. Now the same principle applies. Hold up, so you don't want to fly up too much. Release the gas, and only at this point I start holding the gas again. Mash the R button and hold up on the control stick to land really far down on this part and keep a lot of speed. Again, same principle, just move left of the track, hold up, and right side attack to dive back down to the track again. For this first corner, if you have a lot of trouble making it without crashing into the walls, which is the biggest reason I chose the deep claw in the first place, to reduce that damage you sustain from that, you can steer into the corner just a little bit before your side attack. You will lose a lot more speed, you maybe keep 1500 or so at the dash blade, but at least you don't hit the sides. You really want to keep more than 1500 though, because if you're just throwing away valuable speed otherwise, and valuable time of course. So the final lap is pretty much the same as the second lap. For this whole part, for the looping up to this point, just keep on boosting all the way. Again, find a good line along the right wall. Hold up, right, release the gas. Hold the gas and mash the R button to dive back down to the track at 3000 km/h. I use the last bit of boost that I have here. And again, the same finishing dive. For a 1:05 time on the second strategy already, and without any loop skips. Because that's coming up next. In strategy 3 and 4. We're skipping the looping. So there we go. Strategy 2 on sector beta. Again, all the dives are optional. Each and every dive is optional. It's not a chain reaction. So if any particular dive is very troublesome or difficult, just skip it. Try to improve your time with whatever you can do, and then gradually start adding them in. This next strategy is a lot more difficult, so it doesn't make much sense to start with it unless you can do all the dives from the previous strategy. So again, if there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer it. Let's watch strategy 3.
go! It's a new record!
So there we go, strategy 3 wins 9 seconds on the strategy 2, a lot of time, and most of that time comes from skipping the looping on laps 2 and 3. So yeah, let's analyze it. It's also a drifting strategy, so a lot of things are gonna be different. But a lot of things will also stay the same. So start off by drifting around the first left corner. You will win a lot of time initially on the staff coast, because the staff coast is a grip-based driving strategy. Yeah, this strategy has the potential to beat the world record by over 2 seconds already. Now on this first dive you can do just the same thing we did in strategy 2. What I do here, and it doesn't really matter much, I do sort of an air drift to the left while side attacking, and then move to the very good diving position with the nose of the ship down left to move the control stick up and slightly up right while mashing the R button to dive back down to the track. I didn't really find much of a difference in sort of speeds you can get from the dive, but I think this was like faster by a hair, like hundredths of a second. Doesn't matter. Do whatever dive you prefer, but try to land at around 2300, 2400 optimally with these kind of dives. So, boost reel drift here. This reel is quite tricky to drift well. You have to keep turning along with it. So try to aim for about 1300 kilometers per hour there, because we need to go fast enough here to take off. Again, with this takeoff, I'm holding upright partially, release the gas before you are out of the wall section. At this point I press the gas again to dive down to the track. Same thing as strategy 2. You want to dive down as quickly and as far as possible, because if you land about here, your landing impact will be so big that you throw away all your energy, or all your speed, I should say. This dive is the same as strategy 2. Easy dive to get 3000 kilometers per hour, one of the easiest in the game, I would say. Again, this first corner is super tricky, so it all depends on the timing of your side attacks, as well as how fast you do them. So now the floating setup. For the leap, skip the looping. I do one left side attack and move just slightly down left on the control stick. When you're about next to the looping, on the road here, I boost manually once, move the control stick down a bit to choose a floating angle. And at this point already I start my double tap dive. Mash the Z button, move the control stick up right to point the nose of the ship down right, and then move the control stick fairly up to the up left position and dive back down to the road. I boost when I land to prevent losing speed from going into the dirt zone, right there. Now I'll pause it here. So this blind dive is very tricky dive from strategy 2. Right now, as you can see, I'm going 1736 kilometers per hour when I'm about to lift off from the track. That is way faster than I was going in strategy 2, and that brings a lot of complications with it. In fact, it is super hard to do it well now, but you can still do it fine if you can learn a completely different timing. So the principle is still the same. You want to prevent the ship from floating up too high. If you float up really high, you'll lose all your speed when you land. The landing impact is too big, so we want to stay down, but we're going so fast that we're going to fly up way high anyway. So at this point I'm basically only holding upright on the control stick, just upright, but I'll fly off high anyway. Turn the ship around, turn the nose around. Now I'm releasing the gas button. As you can see, I'm flying out much further than the previous strategy, flying out quite far. And at this point, the nose of the ship is way down. I start mashing the R button and I dive back down to the track. What I found optimal is that to dive actually under the track. So I've now flown out much further than normal, and a common problem I had when I did this strategy in real time was that I would actually land back on the track where I'd just taken off, right? Because you fly out so far and turning, and the timing is weird, that you land back on the track there, so you really don't want that. So either you air brake before it to about 1300 kilometers per hour, so it's a lot easier to manage. Or if you want to go balls to the wall, risking it all on this move, you can do this trick. And as you can see, when I do the dive, I'm diving under the track. And you can land even further down on the track to keep a lot of speed from the dive and take it all the way with you here. So we're starting this dive at 1600, so we're at 3000 in no time at all. Land in the refiller. I start side checking about on the finish line. And you have to mash that Z button fast to make it through the corner. Lap 3 is pretty much the same thing. We really don't want to fly up too much, you want to stay in the lower half of the looping. And only when you're next to the looping, pull back just a little bit to fly up. And then double tap dive Z back to the track. I boost before I land to prevent losing speed from the dirt zone. Again, risking it all, holding upright on the control stick, turning around, releasing the gas, turning way down, and then at the right timing, it's all down to timing, start diving down to the track, and you keep so much speed, so much more speed from this dive if you do it like this. This is where I actually win most of the time on a world record, I guess. By doing that dive a lot faster, keeping a lot more speed from it. And there you go, well sub-minute potential. $56. Well, that's strategy 3. Very, very tough strategy. You can win. Yeah, that under the track thing is crazy. I have done that a few times myself, but most of the time I'm actually land back on the track where I just taken off. So to be safe, just air brake a little bit to 1300, 1400 to make it much more easy for yourself. But you can win a little bit more time, of course, if you don't air brake. Now there is another way to do the last dive in the track. And that saves about another second if you do that on all 3 laps. The way to do that dive is super, super hard. Very, very tough dive. That's why I rate this 9.5 out of 10, almost the toughest strategy in the game. If you can do this 3 times, that is. So let's watch it.
Go! It's a new record!
So there we go, strategy 4. One thing to notice from the previous strategy is that I had a lot of energy left when I finished the race. So in this strategy we don't touch the refiller at all. We just go straight over it. So in this strategy I will use up all the energy and in fact run into some kind of energy limitation on the final lap, so the final lap is slightly slower. But to analyze this we only really need to look at the final dive, so let's do that. So this dive is identical to the previous strategy, this blind dive. Again, upright on the control stick, turn the ship around, turn the nose around 90 degrees or slightly more around. Release the gas, so you keep on the same line. Move the nose way down, then at the right timing, hold gas and start meshing the R button. And if you time it well, you'll go straight ahead and land back on the track. Keep meshing the side attack button, and here, if you move to the right just a little bit here, and I'm holding down on the control stick because you want to lift off before the walls disappear, while meshing the Z button to keep your grip going around the corner left, if you move to the middle here and just keep holding down at crazy speeds like this, 1600 kilometers per hour, you will lift off the track, and you will, by turning already, you will be almost sideways already. And that is the perfect position for a great dive. So I move down and slightly down left when I lift off the track. Now I'm already in a sort of low dive form position. I'm already 90 degrees turned to my side. So at this point I'm starting the dive already. Meshing the R button. I move the control stick just slightly up left to finish the diving position most optimal way. And then I leave the control stick more or less neutral. We don't need to dive down very much. We can make a lot of distance on this dive. So really the control stick is neutral or just very partially down left. So this is a double tap dive where you're actually holding down. So you can see the ship sort of turning and acting weird. That's because I'm holding down and down left rather than the up position that you would normally do. And this reduces the landing impact. It also makes the ship turn into the corner a little bit when I land. So going through this corner is very natural. It is a very tough dive to land. And yeah, so the same thing goes for lap 2 and 3. On lap 3, as Daniel points out, it's a lot easier because we don't need to land back on the track at all. In lap 3, you just have to go far enough until we've crossed the finish line. And this dive is used in the world record to win just a few more tenths on that final lap. Again, this dive under the track here. See how perfect the landing position is, so you keep way more speed, well over 2000 kilometers per hour when you go into this corner. Again, move to the middle, hold down or slightly down left while meshing the Z button. You will flip to the side immediately, hold up or slightly up, up left, mesh the R button, and keep the control stick neutral or slightly down to finish the race. And there we go, 55. 35 seconds faster than the stat goes. So yeah, if you want to beat the world record, this is the strategy to go with. You can also go with the previous one and just add that suicide dive at the end. Will be a lot more easy, of course, just to win a few more extra tenths. But that's up to the player. So, good luck to anyone that wants to try this, and have fun, of course. This is a very cool track with many diving potentials, so you can go nuts with it. So that's it for the sector beta tutorial. Are there any more questions?